Hey guys, we are live and we're live with Rachel. She is the HVAC install her. If you don't know who she is, there's a scrolling banner on the bottom with her Instagram channel. I'm glad to have you on. I really am. I got to meet you in Orlando for the first time.
Yep.
I don't know if we met at the award ceremony, but I met you at AHR.
Yes.
And you and your husband and what some people may not know is you're just as nice in person as you are on your channel. You come across as a very nice person, and
I try. Try not to be a jerk.
well, you are not. There were some people I met there that were kind of pushy, but for the vast majority of the blue collar people I met, it's nice people, very friendly to me. It was nice. It was when I was dealing with like potential sponsors and stuff like that. That was when I felt a little bit of the pushy stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, for me, it was my second AHR, and I don't own my own business. So, like, some of like the going back and forth about different products was like, I am really not in a position to make any decisions like that. And so some of it wasn't for me. I was there for that piece, the social piece, the meeting the people that I know online and just hanging out, really. That's what I was there for.
Yeah, it was fun. The AHR itself is just such a massive event that it can be kind of taxing. It's like input overload. You get tired by the end of the day, and all you've done is really kind of walk around, but you're wore out.
And these like expo centers, like the floor is like concrete. So by the end of the day, like my back is hurting, my feet are hurting. It's really you really have to wear comfortable shoes. If anyone's listening that hasn't been to one and is considering going to the next one, make sure you wear some tennis shoes.
Yeah, I got a little bit frustrated walking around because more than half of the people are looking down at their phone, and everywhere you go, every 30 or 40 feet, there's an intersection where pathways cross, and all these people are going through there, walking, looking down at their phones.
So
And
it's no different than driving a car.
yeah, and I was like, please look where you're going because they almost run into you. And
Yeah, exactly like driving.
well, I get frustrated with people driving all the time. I talk to them. I know they can't hear me, but they're getting a piece of my mind.
I'm sure you're speaking to them very gently and kindly. Yes.
If there was a recording of me in the van, that would be one place where I'm not so kind. Yeah. Well, let me start off with one of the first questions: is how did you get into the trades, and maybe lead us up with what you did before you were in the trades?
So, I have a degree in social work, and I was a social worker for many years. I primarily worked in healthcare, and I just got burnt out. Like when COVID first started, healthcare was on fire, and so many regulations and things happening, and it was like kind of like the sense of like no control. Like they were just pushing these regulations, and nobody had any choice in any of the matters, and it was just overwhelming and I was just burnt out with the whole thing. So my husband, who had been in HVAC his whole life, was installing, and he's like, "Just come work with me. I'll teach you." And he was after me for a while, like asking me to join him, and I was always kind of like, "No, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about that." I had never had like a labor kind of job, and then I got fed up enough to say I would rather do anything than what I'm doing right now. So I jumped ship,
Wow.
started, and I loved it. And I never considered it. And my dad even owned a HVAC business growing up, so I had it in the home and everything, and I just never considered it an option.
Is your dad still around?
He's still alive, but he's not working anymore. When we moved to North Carolina 10 years ago, he sold his business and then basically retired.
So he knows you're working in HVAC. What does he think
Yeah,
about it?
yeah, I think he's super proud. Um, Yeah. I mean, I know he's proud, but he actually taught my husband. So I met my husband through my dad, who worked. My husband, my now husband, was working for my dad. That's how we met.
Okay, I didn't know
Are you
that.
just hearing my story for the first time?
Yes, I am. Yes,
That's
I
it.
am. That's very interesting. Um, my wife and I did not meet in any kind of way like that. I met her at a seminar. I was taking continuing education courses because I was an emergency medical technician, and she was teaching, and we just started corresponding from there.
Oh, so you know, like healthcare in that world and how different it is from what we do now.
Emergency medical technicians are like adrenaline junkies. They're not like, and and honestly, that everybody told me to not make that a career because it's hard on your body. They don't pay you very much, and so I didn't make it a career.
Yeah.
I didn't. There was a chance when I came down here to Albany to possibly do that, and I just remembered what they told me, and I knew that some of those guys were working on like 24 on and 48 off, and on their 48 off they were working as like a trauma nurse in the emergency room or something like that, so they're having to hold down two jobs just to make ends meet. So
Yeah.
I decided not to do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you see like some of these jobs that are just so critical to society, like EMTs and teachers and policemen, and they just don't make what they should make considering, the risks they take and the sacrifice they give for their community. I feel like the pay should reflect the job, and in those cases it doesn't.
You're right, you're right. When I did work as an EMT, because I was a young guy on a truck and there were two people or three people on the truck, we would always get called to the ones where somebody was really heavy. Like if there was a wreck and it looked like there was somebody 350, 400 pounds in the wreck, we would get the call because I was on the truck, which
Yeah.
meant we always had to lift somebody who was really heavy. And
Yep.
so I got broken in very well.
Well, now they have those like electronic ones that like do all the lifting for you, the stretchers and all that. They can even like do stairs and stuff.
Yeah, but you got to get them on it.
That's true. That's true. And
Oh,
it's just dead weight.
part of our problem was we called it all state syndrome, where somebody would get in a wreck and go, "Oh, my back hurts," call an ambulance, and we know there's nothing wrong with them, but we would have to do full spinal immobilization in the vehicle and then move them out of a vehicle onto a stretcher. And
They're
some of
trying to put on the show for the insurance claim
yeah,
at your expense.
we called it all state syndrome,
That's funny.
but but that seems like another life ago. That was a long time ago.
And the abbreviation for that was ASS.
No, they just called it all state syndrome. Well, tell the people the award that you got at the HVAC Tactical Awards.
Tell the people the award you got at the HVAC Tactical Awards.
No, that was just a new category that they just kind of added on. I was lucky to get it. Almost
I
every
was lucky to get it.
yes, I do feel lucky. I feel like one of the first ones to get the YouTube award, so I was honored and privileged.
Well, it's well deserved. I got the Lady of the Trade award, rightfully so. I fit the criteria.
Yeah, and like I said in our talk before you came on, I like what you're doing, putting yourself out on social media to show women that they can do the job and be happy doing it.
Hmm.
Because I honestly feel like a woman can do anything that I do in the job, and not tapping into that resource when we desperately need so many people in the trades. not tapping into the women in the trades, it just seems crazy.
Well, you
So,
think about like other career choices like the military and how women have thrived in the military in different ways. I don't see it any different than that. You know, if you got it, you got it. If you don't, if you're not cut for it, you're not. And
well,
that goes for men or women. There's men that just don't got it.
yeah, for me, I enjoy working with my hands. I enjoy looking for a problem, finding it, and fixing it, and doing something good for the customer. I've described it as mowing the grass and turning around and looking at it, and then it looks so good after you mow it.
Yeah.
I get that feeling multiple times a day when I'm working because I feel like I've done something good and I'm doing it with my hands. It's just a very gratifying way to make a living.
Well, that's why I love watching your videos because I feel like I learn something every time because I've only ever been an installer. So a lot of your videos are kind of like service work and like how to's. And I'm like always really interested watching your videos because I'm learning um, a side of it that I just don't touch because it's not what I do. I would like to. I should. I feel like there's just such a section of knowledge over there on that side that I haven't tapped into yet, and I should get some years in there too.
Well, it's it's different. It's different. I feel like in installs you can develop like your craft and become really good at what you do because there's like I heard this one guy one time that's all he had ever done is installs and I tried to put him into a service vehicle and send him to calls and he just wasn't happy doing that because he was really good at doing installs. He just didn't have the mindset to be a service tech, so he went back to doing installs. But with servers, instead of installing them, you got to figure out how they work and make sure all of that is appropriate. But you have to know the install of it too, from the duct work and airflow, and you've got to understand all of that before you have a good idea of how a system is going to work. So
I think,
installing,
yeah, yeah, you're totally right. I think what happened for me though is I started an install and I got kind of comfortable in like the routine in the hours and kind of like here's the mission for today, you finish and leave, kind of like that kind of mentality. And it makes me nervous to go over to service where it's like you can get a 4 p.m. call and then you're stuck there. All of a sudden you've missed dinner with your family, and that scares me a little bit.
yes, that's very possible. When I first started in service, it was rough. They had us working. I mean, I would pull like 8 calls in a day, and then after five, you still got to get like two or three. You got to help out the after hours guys. And I remember the first place I went to that actually put me on call, and this is a company that had probably 200 employees. They put me on call for the very first time on the July 4th weekend.
Oh,
And it was crazy. It was so busy. We had a pager, and we had to call back within a certain period of time to get the call. And my pager was going off so much that I had to pull over on the side of the road and just make calls calling back. I couldn't get any work done.
yeah.
It was that busy. And I ended up calling my supervisor saying, I can't keep up. There's no way for me to do this. And we had somebody who was like the backup on call, and this person was just MIA. He was missing in action. He wasn't answering the phone. He wasn't at his house.
No, he was at the 4th of July barbecue with his phone off. That's where he was.
Oh, I never spoke to him after that, but I was pissed. I was
Oh
pissed.
yeah. Yeah.
And I had to I ended up having to prioritize customers who had a service plan with us, and companies. Like there were a couple of banks that had called because they had server rooms that were getting too hot. They seemed like they were on the other side of the state from each other. It was crazy. I mean, I don't know if
Mhm.
I got home before 11 o'clock. It was. It was rough.
Yeah, and I worry about that because I just don't feel like that's right to do to a person, you know, as far as like what's a reasonable amount of hours that you should work in a day. And I know the job needs to get done and it's important and these places need air conditioning, but it's like we're human beings too.
Get it. That's my boy. He's jumping up on my desk. Well, I'm gonna tell you what I ended up doing when I became competent as a service tech, and I knew I was performing better than the other service techs. Like they might do 4 calls in a day, and I might do 8, and I was generating more income than any of them. After 5, I limited how many calls I would take because the dispatcher goes home. If you have any more calls, you're supposed to check in with whoever's on call and see if they need any help. I would stop doing that. And I did that for my own sanity, to tell you the truth. And because I was needed in the company, they didn't fire me
Yeah,
because I made myself
valuable.
valuable. Yes.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I kind of do that now. The way I have my business set up, I'm normally home by 5 o'clock, and a lot of my business is rental companies, and they don't expect me to go out like after 6 o'clock anyway. And they ask me if I want to work on the weekends, and I only work on the weekends if there's a reason, like my Mondays are going to be busy or something. So I have it. It's worked out where I do have time for myself.
So you work for somebody else? Because I really was under the impression that you had your own business.
I do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm just
That's great.
saying. Some of my big customers are rental companies.
I see what you mean. I thought you. All right. Now I got you.
So they send me a lot of work, and they normally filter out the calls so that they might get the call late at night, but they don't give it to me until the next day, and that's just optimal for me.
Humane. That's
Yeah,
humane.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier too when I consider going to service. I feel like, if I was ready to make that jump, I think that just the community of people I have now, not even talking really about like the social media people, but just like over the years you make relationships in the trade with your coworkers and people that come and go. And I just know that I have this like team of people that I could call on and say, "Hey, look, this is what I got. Like help me out here," and they can at least send me in the right direction. It's not like someone who's like first starting out and you don't know anyone at the company, you're brand new, you're green, you don't have that like, that Rolodex of people to call on.
Well, I got to say, one of the first companies I was at, it wasn't a very good culture, so I didn't feel like I could call anybody. The only person that I felt like I could call was my supervisor, and he was the service manager.
That's by default because that's your supervisor. They have to answer.
And he did answer, and he did help, but you could hear it that he was busy and he wanted to get off the phone and felt like he was bothered by your phone call. You could hear it. So it just kind of forced me to sit down and just figure this stuff out. I didn't want to call in. I didn't want to ask for help. I mean, I had to sometimes, but when you hear that attitude over the phone, you don't want to call in.
No, you don't. And plus, if you're stubborn like me, you want to like try everything possible before you make that call. And especially if it ends up being something like, oh, why didn't I think of that? I should have known.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Speaking of installers, my installers called in today saying they needed another breaker because the one I gave them wouldn't work. And I get out there, they were trying to mount it. It was on a mobile home, so this is one of those pole setups,
Hmm.
and they're tapping into the main power before it goes into the trailer, and they just weren't hooking up the breaker right. And it's just one of those things. I went out there and I hooked it up, and he said, "What'd you do?" And I had to pull it out and show it. where the breaker hooks up.
Mhm.
There's little things like that. When I had employees, I had tops 5 employees,
Oh yeah.
and I was trying to work and cover the job of being like a service manager at the same time. And I found out that all day long I was running behind these guys and answering the phone and talking them through scenarios. And I got pretty good at it of diagnosing over the phone if they would just tell me what they were seeing. But that is stressful. That's really stressful.
It is.
I'm trying to read the comments over here to see if we got something we can highlight.
I know. I've been trying to look back and forth, but it's hard to keep up and read.
Cust- about customer maintenance. I don't maintain my customers. I'm not sure what he meant. Oh, do you install mini splits?
I've installed like 2 in my whole career. I mean, I can, but
What
we don't do that a whole lot in this
what,
region
what
over here.
about like mini split style systems, like a mini split style
Like
split
the
system?
side discharge units, yeah, we do a lot of that. Like the regular heat pumps, but that look like a mini split outside.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we do that.
Okay, you doing any with flare joints?
We did like some gree for like a little bit. We tried out some gree at one point, and we did quite a few of them, and then our company stopped doing it. And I don't really know the reason why. If it was too many bad flares and too many leaks, too many problems, or what, I don't really get privileged to know why they stopped doing what they do. But yeah, for a little bit, we were doing those gree flare connectors.
They can be problematic and hard to get just right. And then when you think you've got it just right, I had a video on one of mine. 8 months later, one of my flare fittings was leaking, and I can't blame anybody because I did the flares. It's just hard to get it just right. I mean, I like to use nylog on those flares, and then I torque them down, but still they might leak. And I talked to a Gree rep one time who came to, and he had like a mobile model of a Gree flex system set up. And I said, "What about these flare joints? Don't you have troubles with this moving around all the time? Those flares leaking?" He said, "No, they've never leaked." And I said, "Well, what do you use, nylog?" And he was like, "I don't have to use anything. I just flare them right and it works." And part of me's thinking, you got to be kidding, because it's hard to get it right.
Hmm. We actually had mini split training today, because we do a lot of Lennox, and Lennox has a new line of mini splits with Samsung, and so we
Uh-huh.
had a training on that today. But I don't know how many we'll see. Time will tell.
I think they're going to become more and more prevalent.
It looks that way when you're looking online and in the HVAC world.
Um, in my in the service field, there's lots of guys who don't want to work on them because they're hard to work on. They're hard to figure out. The parts in them are like communicating parts, and you can't tell. Like even these stepper motors on the electronic expansion valves, you can't tell what that thing's supposed to be doing. You just know if it's working or not. And I don't
You know,
like the.
as an installer, you know what throws me about mini splits? Because like we're so used to like on a regular split system, like your drain lines, like making sure you got good connections, you're priming, you're gluing everything, and the drain on a mini split is just like this tube into another one and some tape. It just throws me. I feel like there has to be more to it than that. Like there should be something connecting this better.
Well, there's some of the mini splits. I think Carrier had one that came out not long ago where that little piece that stubs out at the end of the mini split drain would fit right into the coupling of a half-inch PVC. And that was real convenient. So I've been trying to do that ever since, and not all of them do that. it would be nice if they were universal like that, so you could just use PVC fittings and run you a half-inch drain. But what I end up doing is it 5/16? No, I have forgotten. I had to Google the size of the drain fitting on the mini splits and go pick up a hose, like a flexible hose, and then hose clamps to hook up to it so that I could run my drains. I really wanted to use PVC, but it just didn't work out.
But doesn't it feel like there should be more to it? Like it feels like it's, I don't know, freaks me out.
Yeah, it does, but
Because
you know,
that's like the one thing, like if you get this wrong, it's gonna be a big problem. Like everything else, if you get the wiring wrong, you'll get the wiring wrong. But if you get the drain wrong, you got issues.
ah, yes. I had a customer one time who called me to correct her mini split because she had an electrician install it. And I don't know what kind of electrician this was, but it's some of the worst work I've ever seen. And I pulled the mini split head off the wall, and the drain goes up. Instead of going straight out the wall, it goes up through a hole that was in the middle instead of off to the side. And I'm like, I'm going to have to reinstall this. I'm going to have to cut another hole.
Hmm.
But she let me do it.
You want to hear a story about my first ever mini split?
Sure, tell us.
So I was pretty new, like new to the trade in general, but this was my very first mini split, and I was with this new lead installer, like had just started, and said that he had done a bunch and he was experienced in it. So I went as his helper, and it became real obvious really fast that he didn't have a lot of experience, and it was also on the third story of this house. And so we had a 40-foot ladder, and we took everything out, and it was a replacement. So there was an existing mini split, we were replacing it with a new one. And he went up to the top of the line set on the outside of the house, took everything off, cut it or whatever, and then I went to go into the at the indoor head, and there was like a window there. I was like, "Oh, cool! There's a window here. I can open it, and we can talk, right?" And I opened it up, and I stuck my head out, and he was like 10 feet below me. It went into the wall about 10 feet lower than where the head was. So everything else was internal in the wall. It went up and then 90'd over, and then out into. It was a nightmare. And then a tsunami came, not a literal tsunami, but like this rainstorm came, and it started pouring down rain, like the heaviest rain I've ever seen. And then it was hailing. It was a nightmare. He was like on this 40-foot ladder in the hail, pouring rain, like it was a disaster. And then I was like, I never want to do that again. Never.
My. Well, how'd you get to your flare joints behind the air handler?
We had ended up having to like talk to the homeowner about having to cut all the drywall and everything, and he wasn't very happy with us.
Uh,
Because that wasn't the project that he signed up for. But nobody really picked up on it. I guess you would. I don't know. I didn't pick up on it until I was like out the window looking down, like, wait, what? Why are you down there?
Where's the line set go? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a customer call me one time about their air conditioner not working, and it was out of refrigerant. But I noticed where the line set comes out the wall, there was oil marks, a lot of oil on the insulation of the line set coming out of the wall. And I did leak searches everywhere, and eventually I could get my leak detector to go off when I stuck it up to the wall. And I had to go into their laundry room, pull the washer and dryer out, find where the line set's supposed to be, and cut. I started at the bottom. I cut me a trench about that wide, following the line set until I found where the people putting on siding had put a nail
Yeah.
through the line set. And I told the homeowner, I'm like, how has this ever been working? And he said, it didn't. I just had the siding put on. So he was upset, and he had told them to avoid the line set and told them where to not to put any nails. And but I had to cut his wall up just to find it.
Yeah. That's like, like when you go to a house and they have the line sets going up like through one of those like dryer vent covers. You know what I'm talking about? And it's like right there on the external wall there. Because we're doing change out, right? So wherever the liquid type for the high voltage usually comes down right beside it. So wherever the screw holes were for the clamps for the liquid type high voltage, I put the holes right back where they were, just for that very reason. Because if you try to put them anywhere else, you're risking hitting that line set, and nobody wants a day like that.
No, 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 no. I have replaced disconnects and hit the power wire with my screws when I've replaced disconnects. So just same thing, but hitting the power wire.
Yeah, that hasn't happened to me yet, but I think about that sometimes.
It's a mess when it happens because once again, you might have to cut open the wall. And
Yeah.
you pull your screw out and it's got a big old black mark on it, and you're thinking the power wire's got to look exactly the same. So yeah, that happens.
That's why you turn your power off. Don't work on it live.
I work on it live frequently. Um, there have been times when I've called electricians because I have partial power to the system and I can't figure out where it's going, and they've had to pull new wire where it's just burnt in the middle. And I'm like, thank goodness I didn't have to pull a new wire. They got some kind of tricks these electricians do for pulling wire through tight spaces that I haven't seen. I don't know how they do some of the stuff that they do.
Yep. Experts in their trade.
I rushed home today and posted an hour-long video. It was a call that took me 3 hours. And if you know me, I like to go into a call, diagnose it within first 10, 15 minutes, know exactly what it needs, fix it, and get out. I want to be done in an hour. This was one of those calls where there was just one problem right after another, after another, after another. Everything was wrong. And then when I thought I was done, I turned on the power and I touched the breaker and it started to catch on fire.
Like on fire?
Well, yeah, it was sparking and there were some blue flames back there, so I had to replace the disconnect too.
We went to one, this was like some time ago, but we went to go pull power when we first got there, and the whole disconnect plug that you pull out was just melted in. So obviously we had to replace the whole thing and cut power at the breaker, but that had been the first time I saw that. I'm like, and that wasn't like in the job notes or anything, like for reason for replacement. I'm like, I feel like this should be the obvious answer, but I
Well,
don't know.
sometimes people doing the estimates don't actually look at everything that they're supposed to, or it gets missed. That's something that's easy to miss. You might not see that it's all melted together. When I was first starting, I had a. Do you know the square D disconnects with the QO breakers that fail all the time? They melt and get hot. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah, like the disconnects that have the square D logo on the front. Is
It's like
that
a
what you're
little
talking about?
breaker. I
Yeah.
have one time that melted all together, and when I tried to pull the breaker out, the two power lugs and the plastic broke loose from the back of it, and the whole thing started to come out. And I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. I put my hand up to stop it, which means my hand made a power arc between the two legs of power on the breaker. I'll never forget that. And I won't do it again. That hurt. That really hurt. That hurt.
My goodness. I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't been electrocuted yet.
Well, you must be doing something right.
Uh, Turn off the power, I guess. uh, It
But
is like it is though. I think like when I train new people, like that's like the one thing that I emphasize the most because I feel like with a lot of the other stuff, if you mess it up, like you could do a lot of damage to the system or different things, the environment maybe, but the electricity is the one thing that will kill you.
it can. Do you test for electricity after you shut it off?
Yes, sometimes.
It can get you. Sometimes those disconnects are bypassed.
Well, I've seen a couple times lately. I saw it in a video online, and then I actually saw it with the guy that we really work with. That he pulled out the disconnect, and it has like the ones that have those two little plates.
Hmm.
The plates that slide in. Well, one of them just broke off in the disconnect, so there was still power to that one side,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
you wouldn't notice because who like looks, just stick it up on top there.
yeah, it's real possible. I've tried to make a habit of doing that, but more often than not, I'm probably going to get shocked. Somebody said, "What if your meter's on the wrong setting?" You know, when I was first getting started in the trades, I got shocked all the time. Well, that's one thing about a service tech. We do have to work on live electricity a lot. We have to
Yeah, that's true.
we have to
It's a different
troubleshoot
different game.
while it's live. And I checked for power at this package unit I was working on. I hate to speak bad about UEI, but that meter told me there was no power there. And I put my hand on it and it nearly made me pee on myself. It was bad. My fingers just latched onto it. I had to lean back to get my fingers to come off of it. And I've never bought another UEI meter after that. I just
I
won't do
think
it.
I think what made me like not afraid of electricity, but like the most cautious is that when I was actually learning, it was like one of my first days on the job, and Igor was teaching me, and we were in the panel, and he was teaching me how to change a breaker and all that, and I was in there and I was doing it. And I felt like I was doing it right, but I guess he felt like my hand was a little bit too close to the live power, and he kind of like startled me. He was like, "Whoa, don't touch that!" And like I jumped, and like I had just been electrocuted, and so like ever since that, like I'm like super like where are my fingers at all times when I'm in there?
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing if you're working in a live panel.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one case where you probably don't shut off the power, do you?
Well, no, not to the whole house. No,
I don't either.
I feel like if somebody said that they do, they might be lying.
There've been a couple times when I couldn't identify the breaker that was feeding whatever I was working on. It's like I'd gone back and forth 3 or 4 different times and still didn't have the right breaker. I'll kill power to the whole house. I will. I've done it a couple times.
I'll just say, "Hey, you might lose some power to some stuff while I figure this out," and I boom, 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 boom until I figured it out.
Somebody's talking about just jam a screwdriver in there. Do you use a cheater at all, like when you're pulling a vacuum or something like that?
What do you mean? Oh, at the disconnect to run my vacuum pump?
Yes.
No, I don't do that. I've seen it done and it freaks me out. No, I don't do that. I'll run like 100 foot of extension cord before I do that.
Why not? The power is right there.
I don't know. It freaks me out. I'm like, this seems really like I don't know DIY sketchy.
um, uh, well, when I learned how to do installs, I was working with some crews that they spoke like sailors, but they got the job done. And what they would do if they couldn't clamp onto the power where they wanted to clamp onto it to use the cheater, they would just shove a screwdriver into it and then clamp onto the screwdriver. So you've got this much power just sticking out, and you've got to be careful not to touch it. I thought they were crazy for doing that.
Yeah, it's not worth it. That's sketchy. But I've seen some people, and I've always maybe this is just the way I was taught, and maybe it's completely wrong. It probably is, but like when you push in the contactor, Like I just use my finger. And then I've had other people like jump at that and like, no, you don't use your finger. I'm like, I've always used my finger. Is that a rule? Like, should I not be using my finger?
Well,
I mean, I don't touch the metal. I mean, I just tip my finger.
I've done it too, and I've had one of my commenters tell me that he had a contactor blow up on him one time and fussed at me about using my finger, but I do it, so
All
technically
right.
maybe it'd be
So,
better to use a screwdriver or something. But
but I feel like with my finger, I have a more secure like my finger's on there. With a screwdriver, you could like, very easily slip. I feel safer with the finger. As long as I'm like, if I've got my other fingers, like I don't, poke anything around my other fingers.
yeah, Woodwork King says I've always used my finger.
It must be a North Carolina thing. Yeah, a
You
little
say that
different.
too?
We're a different breed.
Well, I'm not from North Carolina, but my family's from South Carolina, one of the Carolinas. I grew up in South Carolina, lived there until, well, I had a brief stint in North Carolina, but I lived in South Carolina at least until I was 21.
Yeah, I was just talking with one of our sales guys today about North Carolina. It's a great place to live. Just he was talking about the economy. I was just talking in general because we have the beach and we have the mountains and we have the cities. We have the whole thing. I like it here.
You know who they're talking about?
No,
Ted Cook using his fingers on capacitors.
no, I wouldn't do that.
I've been shocked by them. I discharge those things every time I try to. I know I do it so much I might make a mistake once in a while, but I try to discharge those things with something because I've been shocked by them and it hurts. I mean, they can hold a lot of voltage.
Yeah, I've always done that too. I've never touched one with my finger, and I haven't been shocked by one yet. But I don't do a lot of service calls, so I mean, I could just have luck so far.
Well, my experience is if there's something wrong, like maybe a wire is not connected on the compressor or something, and that capacitor cannot discharge like it's supposed to, that's when it holds a charge. And you don't know when that's going to be the case unless you go to the
Mm,
compressor first. And normally we're going to the capacitor first. So you don't know it.
yeah.
So you got to be careful.
So, are you taking apprentices? Because if I could just come shadow you for a few months, maybe I'll learn some good service stuff rather than just watching your videos. Get my hands on it, you know?
I would enjoy having an apprentice, but my schedule is just kind of crazy. It would be hard to do that. It would be really hard.
Dang, have to find someone else.
I do put everything
Anyone?
on YouTube though. You can watch everything I do. I record
Well,
almost
I could be a co-star of your content, you know? I could even be your cameraman, woman.
I think you would get tired of me.
Well, fair exchange for some knowledge.
It would be fun. I'll put it that way. It would be fun. Let me see. What time are we getting to? Have you had time to eat yet?
Yes.
You have had time to eat.
And shower because my hair is still wet.
Okay. Well, at least one of us is clean. Well, I'm probably going to wrap it up. I just wanted to bring you on and talk and just talk shop and touch on the subject of bringing women into the trades. I think that's a great thing that you're doing, putting your content out there. Um, more power to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no trouble. Stick around when this goes off. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off and tell everybody thank you for tuning in. Find us on Instagram. There's a scroll on the bottom if you want to find Rachel at HVAC install her.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.